Do we know if we're live? Oh, there it is. Oh, look at that.
We're live, baby. What is up? Welcome in to what was hoping to be maybe a little bit more upbeat first edition of Post Loons. But in any case, we are here as we promised we would be. And unfortunately, we are breaking down a 4-0 loss in Seattle to the Sounders in the MLS opener. MLS is back. But as Christopher Alphaby says, oof. Oof, indeed.
Brutal.
That's about the one reaction I have, too. Grant, initial thoughts on the beatdown out west?
I am never tweeting live in the middle of a game ever again. That's my first promise to everyone on this live stream, everyone who will listen tomorrow morning. You have my word. I'm going to put my phone down. I'm never tweeting ever again. Brutal. We started so good. Like the first 20 minutes of that game, we were moving the ball well. We looked super cohesive. And then credit to Brian Schmetzer. He's a very good, I think one of the things that he is truly elite at is in-game adjustments. And he made some super good in-game adjustments that kudos to the Sounders. They played super well. I mean, they really did.
Yeah, you just saw a complete shift in the second half in the flow of the game, right? First half, everything was going Minnesota's way. The high press, I mean, I tweeted it. That press was so high that Willie Nelson would be impressed by that.
That's a good one right there. That's a good dad joke.
They were putting on some pressure. I mean, they've been known to put on some pressure, especially early in matches. But that is unlike anything I had seen from a Minnesota United team before. And it was very welcome to see that. And then all of a sudden, second half comes around and Seattle just finds a way to beat that press to kind of get in behind. And you saw first goal, obviously a banger, nothing you can do about that. But the next few were pretty easy right in front of goal there. So just sort of a meticulous sort of just kind of dissecting of Minnesota United's defense. I mean, you saw they were definitely missing Bakaye Debasi in this one. Brett Kallman, as you mentioned in your initial tweet, looked pretty good actually in the early going. Almost had a goal. We'll get to that in a little bit. But at the end of the match, you really saw that that back line, which we're not used to seeing this from Minnesota United, but the back line was
leaky,
exposed in the second half.
Yeah. It was nuts because, I'll stand by my observation when I originally tweeted, said something to the effect of like, am I crazy or is he's performing admirably, which I would like to call out to, I regret tweeting that, but I chose my words carefully, right? Like he was playing admirably against Rui Diaz, who's an incredible striker, right? And he had a couple of, moments where he blocked a shot from Rui Diaz or took the ball away from him. And I was like, wow, I'm really impressed. And then you saw, I think, one of Kallman's biggest weaknesses, which is just an absolute lack of like athleticism. He just is out of shape and tends to be out of position frequently, which are probably the two worst things for a center back. And so I tend to be an optimist. And I thought like, wow, he's going to continue this the whole game. And then the goals started coming. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like besides the João Paulo one, at least 2 out of the 4 were directly Kallman's fault.
Yes,
maybe 3.
Yes, it was him leaning the wrong way. Whoever he was, guarding at the time, which Rui Diaz most of the time, right? Getting directly in behind. And as I mentioned, just point blank chances. I mean, those are chances you don't miss, right? If you're a guy like Rui Diaz, and you can't allow a guy like Rui Diaz to get in that type of goal scoring position. But you could call it maybe a lack of fitness this early in the season. You could call it what it is, but it really just seemed like the second half, Seattle just put on the pressure and Minnesota United was just not ready for it.
So I have a question, Jeremy, if that's okay, if I can jump in. So
Absolutely.
Just bounce it off with me here for a second. They had a strike partnership of, it was Rui Diaz and I think Will Bruin up top, right?
Yep.
Why would Kallman be the guy marking Rui Diaz? If you're going to put anybody on Rui Diaz, I would put, Boxall and then potentially have somebody sitting, watching him as well. Like that's the guy I would watch out for. If they don't have Ladero, why are we not just like completely trying to take Rui Diaz out of the game,
I'm going to preface this answer by saying I'm not in any way, shape, or form a knowledgeable tactical, especially defensively, a tactical mastermind when it comes to soccer. But maybe it's a situation where Coleman, firmly is in that left center back role. And maybe it was just Seattle doing a good job of making sure Rui Diaz was the guy in that same space, in that same area, thus forcing Coleman to mark him. I'm not saying that was what it was, but I'm saying with Coleman being the backup, maybe the less experienced in those particular situations, it could be just a situation where he wasn't able to sort of flow with Boxall, switch positions with Boxall to make sure he was guarding the right, marking the right man. Again, they don't really run a man marking system, does Minnesota United usually. Again, when they have the right people in place, they can easily flow through different defensive type of plans depending on what's being put at them. But Coleman's not your starter. This is a guy who was in the USL Championship for much of last season. So maybe he just wasn't ready. Maybe he's just not the guy who can sort of switch positions with Boxall at those particular times. Again, very surface level answer to that question. I have no idea. That's purely speculation, but just trying to give you an answer to your question.
I think that's a very fair assessment. And that's a really good point too. You spend time down at USL Championship and you are not facing players like Rui Diaz. He legitimately is one of the best strikers in Major League Soccer. So to take that jump, that's a significant jump. That being said, if Dibassi's not fit for the next game, I think we have to have some kind of other solution because clearly we can't afford to give up any more losses. We really can't. We have to start this season, strong. So, yeah.
A lot of what ifs, a lot of pondering. We'll do a lot of that here. Again, this is episode 1 of Post Loons with me, Grant from the Dummy Run podcast. Follow him on Twitter at Cold North Rants. Follow me, Jeremy Rushing, on Twitter at Jeremy G Rushing. We are live right now on Twitter and YouTube. And Zach Johnson, at least we're giving Minnesota United fans something to be happy and praiseworthy about. So that's good. If you could leave your questions, comments on the 4-0 loss, obviously not a lot are going to be positive. So questions for us, overall comments on the game. Make sure you give us a thumbs up if you're or if you're watching on YouTube. Those thumbs up, it's a big algorithm thing with YouTube. It really does help us out and help our exposure. To leave us a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Even if you're watching on Twitter, maybe just go over to YouTube for a second, give us a thumbs up. That would be awesome. Subscribe to our channel as well. And again, leave those comments, leave those questions on the opening night loss for Minnesota United. So Grant, before we get into kind of the game notes here, I do want to let you all know that we are presented by our friends at 9th Street Soccer and Coffee. They've been huge supporters of 10,000 Pitches, the podcast. Now they are the title sponsor of Post Loons. They held their first watch party, their Minnesota United watch party tonight over at 9th Street Soccer and Coffee. If you follow us on Instagram at 10K Pitches, Ethan Brandt was actually taking some live videos, taking some pictures over there. Looked like a great time. And they're actually doing it again for the next match, which is on Saturday the 24th. So next Saturday, Loons watch party happening at 9th Street Soccer and Coffee. You can just kind of walk in, drive up if you want. They're not going to turn you away, but they do, with not everybody being vaccinated right now and them wanting to keep numbers at least somewhat down. They do ask that you RSVP at 9thstreetmpls.com. So if you want to congregate in kind of an open setting, an outdoor setting, weather pending, to watch the game kind of safe and socially distanced, but around other people on a huge projector, definitely check out 9thstreetmpls.com and RSVP for the next Loons watch party happening next Saturday. All right, Grant, we've given our kind of initial reaction. So let's kind of go chronologically through the match here. And it starts with the opening kickoff. Now, nobody else, and I might be exaggerating a little bit or overreacting a little bit, but it looked like Load almost hit Ray right in the nads with the opening kickoff. Like it went right out. He was not ready for it and almost caused a turnover. I just thought that was something kind of funny to kick off the season.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely interesting. I thought, wasn't a great promise, not a very promising start to the game in general. But, they settled into a rhythm pretty quickly. I thought they looked pretty good. I thought they had some early, looks, and they spent some time down at Seattle's offensive third. I don't want to throw our chronological order out of the way. So if you want to rein me in, let me know. But Besides the almost nut kick, yeah, I thought, we looked all right.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where the beginning of the match really kind of reflected what we hoped to see from Minnesota United. I mean, they looked like they wanted it. I mean, it was said on the broadcast. Stu Holden brought it up on the broadcast. Like, this looks like a team who's looking to make a statement and looking to make a mark early in the season. Obviously, couldn't say much of the same for the second half. But really, this game really got started in the 27th minute, where Will Trapp was called for a handball just inside the box, penalty to Seattle. Their thoughts on the handball?
I think this is going to be unpopular, but I think that the one against Will Trapp was a bit more legitimate than, and not legitimate. I think they're both legitimate calls. I think the one against Will Trapp made sense because Will Trapp's hand was kind of in an unnatural position. It happened with the Seattle player a little bit further. You could see him actively trying to move his hand away. And, again, I don't want to, I hate giving credit to the other team, right? But he was trying to move his hand out of the way. I'm not super mad about it. The Will Trapp one was unfortunate, but that one makes more sense that would be a penalty. So, it is what it is. Kudos to Dane St. Clair for an incredible save. He knew exactly where that was going immediately. We have a really good goalie on our hands. And as long as we don't have a leaky back line, which we'll talk about later, Dane St. Clair is going to have a ball in year. And I was talking with one of the guys who I coach high school sports with, and he was saying Dane St. Clair's going to Europe next year. And that would not surprise me at all.
I had a great conversation in a article for Zone Coverage last season. I talked with Dane's goalkeepers coach in San Antonio when he was out on loan. And he said he's coached a lot of keepers in his day. And he said that Dane was on that trajectory, that he would be in Europe sooner rather than later. And then randomly after another match where Dane put on an excellent performance last year, he randomly Twitter messaged me and is like, he'll be in Europe this time next year. He's on that kind of trajectory. So yeah, we better appreciate Dane St. Clair while we have him. Again, 4-0 tonight doesn't necessarily look good for his goals against, but you can't really fault a lot of those goals for him. Maybe one of the four. But Stefan says Dane got man of the match in the team poll, deserved. I do think it was deserved because who else are you going to give it to? There really wasn't. Hassani Dotson starting on the left wing, didn't really see much from him. To be honest, in that position, he looked like somebody playing a position he had really not played before in a match. So I can't really think of who else. Jan had a couple good crosses. Reynoso had some flashes like he usually does, but didn't really see much consistency throughout the match from anybody. And with the saves, I mean, Dane still had 5 saves, which is crazy. 4 goals, 5 saves. That's a lot of shots on goal that you're facing. So I don't know who else you would give it to at that point besides Dane St. Clair.
In a 4-goal game, it's hard to put the man of the match on defensive players. But I also think it's at least worth noting, Metanier went up and down last year a lot of the times. Mm-hmm. And he, 2 years ago came back from AFCON. He looked a little shaky, right? But I thought tonight was really promising from Metanier. He looked really sharp, in my opinion. As the game went on, I think everyone kind of deflated, so he kind of lost a little bit of focus. But when we were in the game still and everyone was still competing very hard, I thought he played really, really well. So Metanier is a shout out I would give. I think Dane, obviously, I'm not sure if it was the 3rd or 4th goal, but he was definitely responsible for one of those. I mean, the other 3, you've got extreme golazo, out of the box from João Paulo. You're not going to stop that. It is what it is. No. And then the other 2 that weren't his fault were just, classic leading the goalie out of, his box, trying to pull him out of position and then just passing it right to the open guy. And that's not on the goalie. The goalie can only be in one place at one time. He can't dive across 20 yards. That doesn't make any sense. So Dane played super well for what he was given. And I think he's going to have a really good year this year.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's just a matter of how long Minnesota United can keep him, right? That summer transfer window comes around, you don't know what's going to happen. So
which makes me think we should hang on to Tyler Miller for a bit. People were saying, Tyler Miller, we should ship him back to LAFC. and they do need a goalie, let's be honest. But like,
Mhm.
I think if we're communicating with Tyler Miller the correct message, we're saying sit tight for a second, rest your what was it? Was it his hip that he had surgery on, right?
Yes.
His hip surgery, I think. Rest your hip, get healthy. Dane will be out of here in like 6 to 8 months, probably. You know, I mean, it's very likely, in my opinion.
Yeah, if not the summer window, then you almost got to think definitely the winter window next year. So, I mean, that's a conversation for another time, though. Let's get back to tonight. 36 minute, Reynoso doing what Reynoso does. Filthy pass to Robin Lod on the right side of the box. Lod hits the post. That was easily Minnesota's best chance of the first half. Would have loved to see Robin sort of give Reynoso his assist there. I mean, it's like Reynoso's playing FIFA Street while everyone else still playing FIFA 98. Like that was just filthy. And also got to give Michael Boxall a shout out. Actually, Joe Lowry from MLS Assist kind of tweeted out the whole GIF of the entire sequence. It was really Boxall sort of getting the ball out quickly and starting that process down the pitch that really led to that sequence. But just that pass, it's not something you see every day, and it's not something that we're used to seeing from guys in a Minnesota United uniform. That's for sure.
I thought Boxall had a lot of really good long diagonal passes. I thought he had a few moments where he really did release the pressure a lot. I'm also going to shout out that, I'm rocking the Lod jersey tonight.
Nice.
Which is unfortunate because, so that first shot off the post, right, was his right foot, not his left foot. He's a left-footed striker. So let me take that back. He's not even really a striker. He was in the striker position tonight, but that's the biggest thing about, I think, our lack of goals tonight is that until Ramon Avila came on, we didn't really have a true striker on. Like, we keep putting Robin Lod into these positions that aren't really his best position. We put him at left wing in 2019. He didn't do great there. Then we kind of floated him, striker a little bit, number 9 in the, MLS is back, or excuse me, the MLS Cup tournament. And just, he deserves to be played in his best position with a true striker. And so whenever Avila is healthy and ready to go, I think that's going to be the best lineup. And I know we'll get to him later, so I don't want to jump ahead. But yeah, I mean, Lod had a couple of chances, and I think he'll find the back of the net a few times this year. He'll have the moments.
Yeah, and I think it was a situation where you got Lod playing at a position where last year he thrived in that position, but then you have to look at the people that were around him, right? You had Kevin Molino to his left, Manuel Reynoso to his it was really a solid core in that attacking midfield that allowed Robin Lod to thrive in that, if you want to call it a false 9, if you want to call it just a kind of a attacking midfielder playing striker type thing, he was made to thrive in that. But then tonight, when you have him playing the 9, and then you have someone like Hassani Dotson to his left, who is not used to playing left wing. Sure, he's an absolute Swiss Army knife, so he could eventually become a solid left winger for this team. Hopefully we bring in a certain player in a week or so, and that doesn't matter, right? But fingers crossed. But if he is called upon to play left wing, hopefully he can grow into that. But tonight he did not look like a guy who was comfortable and really able to play that left wing position solidly. And so when you also combine that with Robin Lod playing that 9, where that's not his normal position, it's not his comfortable position, well, then that whole attacking midfield is kind of messed up, because if you have Ethan Finley to the right, and we were talking in the group chat where it looks like Ethan Finley's kind of really lost a step. So then really you're only really relying on Emmanuel Reynoso, a guy who's solid playing in his main position when you're talking about your entire front four. And that's not a formula that I really see translating to a lot of goals. And we saw it tonight, the goose egg.
That's not a formula you want to line up against a team that made it to the MLS Cup final and has made it to a ton of MLS Cup finals. Like you hit it on the head, is that it was kind of the perfect storm of just unfortunate positioning places. I personally believe Heath probably put out the best lineup he could have. He put out
the best 11 guys that he could have.
Yes, agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed. But from there, you've got Lod not playing his correct position. Ethan not playing the best game he ever has. And Hassani Dotson, Jeremy, you brought me on here to have some hot takes, right? Hassani Dotson is an incredible talent. He will be our number 8 for the future. I truly believe it. We may even sell him to a European league. I don't doubt that. But he's a Jan Gregish in the sense that, like, he's a box-to-box 8 who will sometimes get you a banger, but you can't rely on him for offensive output. Like, you can't be leaning on Hassani Dotson to be a creator. So he's not a Kevin Molino replacement. Robin Lod capitalizes when people are focused on Molino and Reynoso. And so you had, just the perfect storm of players who weren't in their most comfortable positions. And then, the one player who was in his most comfortable position, Ethan Finley, who I don't like Ethan Finley slander. He's a great dude. He's a great, hard worker, great guy, great teammate, good
really
locker room presence.
Effort. Absolutely.
But he didn't have a good game tonight. And when he's the only guy in his preferred position, besides Reynoso, in that, attacking front four, that's a pretty rough look, and things got a little bit better when we had Abila in, but I don't want to jump ahead. You got to rein me in. Anyways, point being,
that's all right. Let's go. We're here to talk. We're here to offer our takes. So just come on, let's just roll with it.
Perfect storm. I just was so impressed by the second Ramon came on. Immediately, you can tell he has a connection with Reynoso. Like, he didn't get on the score sheet, but you can already tell they know what they want to do together.
Yeah. There is no doubt in my mind Hassani Dotson is one of the best 11 players on this team. Shoot, he may be one of the best 7 players on this team.
I would agree.
But that does not mean, like,
he's not a creator.
There's recognizing that. And also recognizing that you don't need, and I tweeted this exact thing, you don't need a square peg, round hole him into an open position just because it's open if that's not where he's going to thrive.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
And I get that maybe injuries, the Nico Hansen injury may have really influenced that decision. That was huge. That was something I personally did not see coming. In the injury report. So that kind of threw all like my projected starting lineup for a loop. So maybe it is just a situation where they literally had nobody else to throw in at left wing. And so it's like, Hassani Dotson, he's a Swiss Army knife. He can do pretty much anything on the pitch. We're just going to throw him in here and see what happens. And if that is the case, then I get it. But I don't think this is a long-term solution. And I don't necessarily think Dotson in the starting 11 just in general is a long-term solution. I think he is best served on this team as that super sub guy where you can read the game and really insert him in a position based on the flow of the game that you feel he can make the biggest impact. That is a huge advantage to have that kind of guy sitting on your bench. You can choose when, where, and how you insert him into the game based off what you're seeing, based off the sample size of current game flow that you are seeing. Now, we also have to take into account Adrian Heath's history of substitutions or lack thereof, right? So everything I'm saying sounds good in a vacuum, but then when you factor in kind of the sample size we're seeing, it sort of does kind of throw that for a loop. But all that to say, I really hope that we get Nico Hansen healthy and we kind of get those players back in their positions where they thrive. Because while we did have our best 11 on the field tonight, it wasn't necessarily the right positioning. And that's kind of, we saw the results of that.
Agreed 100%. I think the substitutions that Heath made, he made was it 3 substitutions, maybe 4? There was Abila, Alonso, and McMaster, and somebody else, right?
Those were the only 3 I saw.
Okay, so 3.
I was getting ready for the stream for like the last 5 minutes. So if there was like a last minute substitution, I may have missed it, but yeah.
I mean, so I thought personally, so for all the flack that Heath takes for substitutions, I thought the Abila substitution came at the right time, 65 minutes. I actually had texted my friend that he was going to come on at the 60th minute. So it's close, but that was the perfect timing. He's not fully match fit, I don't think. And also, if you're going to play that aggressive high press, you need somebody who can sprint for a long amount of time. So he came on at the right time. I think that was a good sub. I understand, at the point where Ozzy Alonso came in, that he being Heath was looking at the score line being 3-0. And he probably wanted to give Ozzy like the shout out at Seattle, but also like, I don't know, man. Part of me is like, we're fighting to win this. We're on national television. Granted, how many people are up at 9 p.m. watching MLS soccer? I don't know. Maybe just a few of us crazies, but
we'll see what the ratings come out to be.
I don't
expect it to be too crazy. That's for sure.
But I do have my questions about like, why was that the choice? You know, was there any other players we could have put in? I heard that, you know, Agudelo was looking good. You know, could McMaster have come on earlier? You know, I just thought there was just other options we could have at least attempted before. I think Ozzy coming on as like it was one of those moments of like a send off, basically. And to me, when Ozzy came on, it kind of felt like, you know, I'm disappointed with Heath because it felt like it was him saying the game's over.
Stepping out.
Yeah, like we're not even going to try anymore. I don't know. It didn't sit well with me, and it kind of was frustrating. I don't know how you felt about it, but
I mean, it's not a substitution you make if you're trying to claw your way back into a 3-0 game, right? I agree that was Heath sort of saying, okay, you know, we're not getting any points out of this. Let's give Ozzy his moment coming onto the pitch. Now the argument is whether or not you think that was a good move, whether or not you agree that the game was kind of lost at that point, so you're okay with that, or you think that they should have been fighting and doing everything they could to try to claw back from that 3-0 deficit. I could see both sides of that argument, but yeah, you are correct in that substitution was really sort of that admission, you know, that the game was decided at that point.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about a sequence that may have decided this game, and that was in the 49th minute. First goal for Seattle, Joe Paulo, just an absolute banger. I mean, he props it up with his foot and just sends it. I don't even know how to describe what I saw because it's something you so rarely see in MLS. But that goal was just incredible. And then,
those shots, like you can't be mad. Like there are some pretty much the other 3 goals that they scored against us, I'm mad about because they were all really preventable. That was an incredible shot where Dane St. Clair couldn't see it because our defenders had defended very well. They blocked, like it was 2 other attempts originally. We were clearing it. We cleared it, you know, we should have cleared it outside instead of to the top of the box, but it rolled to the, you know, kind of top of the box. Dane couldn't see it. Incredible shot. I'm not mad about that. It was a great hit. I mean, you see that, and then people were already saying, the in-game broadcasters were already saying that it would be, you know, in the running for goal of the year, which always feels dramatic because there's a long year ahead of us, but it was a good shot.
Okay, we got zone coverage. Loons contributor Jacob Schneider ready to go on the stream. All right, hold on. Watch this, Grant. Hold on. Watch what I do here.
I'm ready for this.
Look weird for a second.
Oh, there he is.
Look at that.
How are we doing, gentlemen?
Hey, Jacob. How you doing, man?
I didn't know there was a hat. Like we didn't coordinate the hats, just so anybody knows. You know, this kind of just happened.
No, it was on purpose. Jake was like, "You all have to have a backwards hat."
Yeah.
This is actually now Post Loons presented by New Era. Just so you guys know.
I wish, you know, hey, if you want to get New Era, you know, maybe get sponsored by like Bud Light Seltzers or something too. You know, all kinds of options here, Jeremy. We could have some fun with this.
Yeah, who can hook us up, guys? Find us that Bud Light sponsorship.
There we go.
Jacob, before you jumped on, we were talking about the goal from João Paulo to give Seattle that 1-0 lead. I mean, just an incredible goal. Your thoughts on that and just kind of your overall initial reactions to the match tonight?
Well, João Paulo was brilliant all match. There's a place, there's a part of Twitter, there's a part of sports media, soccer media specifically, that looks at João Paulo and says, that's a top 5-6 in MLS. He was brilliant last fall and into the playoffs for the Sounders. And tonight he looked the part. Everything was through him. You know, he came off the pitch, I think it was the 75th-ish minute, maybe 80-minute mark later in the match. But everything was ran through João Paulo. He didn't let anybody get past him. He shut down Reynoso in the second half for those 25, 30 minutes he was on the pitch with him. The first half was back and forth. I think, you know, speaking with Adrian Heath post-game, he said, you know, there are parts of the match where the team looked very good. They were comfortable. They felt in control even. But following the Joao Paulo strike, which Heath said, looked pretty good, but you have to see it a second time. They kind of just lost the initiative to keep pushing. And Will Trapp spoke on that further. He felt as if the team kind of gave up on certain plays, and he specifically used the words "give up." He mentioned the three goals, and he mentioned if you're able to pass the ball across the 6 for just an easy tap-in goal, someone gave up somewhere in the box. The team gave up. There was something that could have been prevented but wasn't, and he's really disappointed that happened. Obviously, we looking at it from a TV screen, a different perspective than him. We see, a possible player that could be at fault. We see an out of position player, so on and so forth. We can make our accusations, but in the long run, this was a defensively flawed performance in the second half. Chase Gasper and Brent Kallman did not mix well at all. Gasper pushed too far up. Kallman would try to cover for him, and Kallman could have barely cover his own positioning. He was struggling against the likes of Raul Ruiz-Diaz. He got spun around by Will Bruin, and Will Bruin does not spin people easily. Let's be frank. He's very much so a poaching number 9 who's tall and lanky and not very agile. And he spun Brent Kallman. That's a very rare happening. But that wouldn't have happened if Chase Gasper was in position. Yeah. There's lots of blame to go around. But let's be honest here. It was defensively flawed. Baki Dibassy was heavily missed. We look at that performance from last fall or last winter. It was December 7th. Baki Dibassy was immense. He scored a header to give the Loons a goal in that playoff game against Seattle. And you look tonight, and Brett Kallman nearly scored a goal, but then he was not defensively secure for the Loons. He was good in that one moment in the first half, and then all of a sudden he started getting beat. But that's also partly due to Chase Gasper's positioning. He was very much so pushing too far forward in places where he shouldn't have, or he was caught in a place where he shouldn't have been, too far into the midfield. And Gasper's not a fast individual. We know that. He's a solid left back, but he's no Romain Mettener with pace. They're two opposite fullbacks. That's why Mettener's the one hustling up and down the pitch, throwing crosses in the box. He's got that partnership with Ethan Finlay that we've seen work, the partnership with Robin Lowe that works. Chase Gasper gets up there occasionally, and he's pretty good at it, let's be honest. But he's not fast enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And the other thing you said is, the biggest problem was the fact that I tweeted Brent Kallman is doing well, and immediately after that, he just was like, he must have had like his cell phone in his like spandex shorts or something, because he looked at it and was like, "All right, time to take the night off, boys. Crack open a cold one, Bud Light special. Let's have a good one." I think you're spot on, Jacob. Like Dibassy's pace and also just intelligence defensively, like his spacing, his awareness of where to be. He's always in the right place, and he's always making the smart play. He has the athleticism and the brains to just be in the right spot all the time. And Kallman is not that player. The drop off is dramatic.
There's also the fact that you have to take into account that Michael Boxall's not a passing center back. He's not somebody who plays out of the back. That's Baki Dibassy's role. If you're playing out of the back, it's through Baki Dibassy. You threw two center backs together. Neither of them are passing center backs, and you're trying to play out of the back. So again, maybe this is an instance where you're forced to play Jukka Raitala, a natural left back, at left center back, or Chase Gasper at left center back and Jukka Raitala at left back. I don't know, but you're playing with a back four with a right back who is phenomenal at passing, going up and down the pitch. He'd be a brilliant wing back in a 3-5-2. Then you look at Michael Boxall, the most solid defender on the team, probably the most solid player tonight, if I'm being honest. He didn't really step wrong or anything. He was just let down around him. And then I look at, Brent Kallman had a few mistakes, but he had a really good header chance. Christian Roldan did brilliantly to clear that off the line. Like, that was stupendous work. He's phenomenal. I love Christian Roldan. I think he's an incredibly underrated player in this league. Yep. And his work rates are so perfect. But I think something went wrong tonight. I don't know if it changed after halftime because of the Joao Paulo goal, but the Loons conceded 4. And, in this day and age, when you're expected to be, a top 5 Western Conference team, you can't lose 4-0 to another top Western Conference team. You can't lose 4-0 to any team in general. You had to at least get a goal there. You had to get some confidence. I really liked the debuts from Juanchope Abila, and then Justin McMaster. They both had a shot on target with their first touch of the game, which is pretty cool. Each of them, their first touch, a shot on target, ended up in Stefan Frey's arms. But
I thought Abila's first shot was going in. I saw that and was like, hell yeah, like let's fucking go. Excuse me, kids at home.
That's okay. Okay.
I want to go back to what Jacob Schneider said, because I'm just reading your Twitter handle. Sorry, Jake. So one of the things you said was like, Boxy does super good on his own. Like he does his job super well, and it makes you acknowledge and realize how much extra stuff Ike Opara did, because Ike Opara cleaned up everybody's messes every time he was on the field. If somebody made a mistake, Ike would be there in a second, left and right, back and forth on the field. And Boxall, and this is not a diss at Boxall at all, but he does his job super well and tries to clean up other people's messes, but he's only human, and he's not Ike Opara, and Ike Opara is I don't know, irreplaceable in my opinion.
He's the defensive player of the year.
He's the defensive player of the year, exactly. Yeah.
But news on Ike Opara.
I'm going to agree and disagree with that statement. I agree that in a normal circumstance, when you have all your starting defenders healthy, they all do their job so extremely well. I don't think that one necessarily has to cover for the other, though, when they are all fully healthy. I don't think it's a
they shouldn't have to. No, they shouldn't have to.
But that reverts back to what you're talking about, what Jake was talking about with Chase Gasper having to cover for Brett Coleman. Chase Gasper is not used to having to cover for the guy next to him, because it's Ike Opara or it's Bakaye Dabasi, guys who do their own jobs extremely well. So Chase Gasper, in his great first couple seasons with Minnesota United, has really only had to worry about himself, because there's not been, liability is such a strong word, but tonight Brett Coleman really looked like a liability back there. And so when you're all of a sudden asked to do that much more if you're Chase Gasper, and he's not used to doing that, it's not going to be an easy transition for him. Doesn't mean he's not a guy who can do that in the future, but hopefully we don't get enough of a sample size of this where that's going to be an issue moving forward.
No, and I agree.
Hopefully, I never tweet about Brett Coleman ever again in my entire life. I'm never tweeting about him ever again.
Yeah. So, Andy Greeter of the Pioneer Press asked Adrian Heath on the status of Ike Opara, because the team was roster compliant this morning. They released their 2021 roster, and Ike Opara was not bought out. And what Heath said is they're going to return. They're going to talk to him. They're going to see if get him healthy, see what they can do. I'm not going to say it was optimism, but I'm going to say it was optimism. Heath didn't say, he's not playing. Heath didn't say he's not healthy. He just said, we got to get him fit. We got to talk to him. So there's reason to believe, because his contract was not bought out, that Ike Opara may return to the pitch in the coming months. And I look at this and I say the FIFA break from like early June to mid to late June, that's the perfect time to get him some reps in scrimmages and such with the team. Maybe they get a USL team or something during that time. Maybe they'll even get an international friendly or something. I don't know, based on COVID. But come late June, early July, I wonder if we see Bakaye Dabasi, or not Bakaye, Ike Opara, excuse me. I
hope we see him by then. Goodness.
Well, you think about it. It's late April now. It's mid-April, and let's say he's not match fit at all, and he's just starting his first training on Monday. It's going to take you a month to get fit. You're going to have to get the chemistry back with your teammates, and you don't want to rush anything either, because concussions are a very, very serious and touchy subject. I myself know this. I've had 6 diagnosed concussions. My high school sport career ended due to concussions. I totally get it. I understand what he's going through. Those little glimpses, those little moments where you worry, like, I don't remember this. The light's bothering me. I get a random headache. That stuff happens. It's real. It's definitely an issue. And seeing the MLS is starting to take concussions more seriously too is a massive plus. We look at the concussion substitute rule implemented in 2021. I love that. I think it's necessary, because a head injury should not warrant any team being like losing a player if they're already used all 3 subs or something in that situation. But having Ike Opara back would be a plus. It'd be major. It'd be huge. Having Robin Lode as a right winger instead of a number 9, that might be a huge. And Fragapane, the new guy.
You got to do the little Italian hands too. Yeah.
Fragapane.
Yeah, Fragapane.
Yeah.
Well, he is,
So-
but he is
He looks legit.
he's from Italian descent, actually, which
Yep.
I'm half Italian, so he's one of my own. But you got to do the
Okay.
hands.
You got a
Fragapane.
very strong Minnesotan accent though too, Grant. So
Well,
you got
yeah, I was
the
born in the U.S., but
Oh, I'm just saying you got
Yeah.
the Minnesota.
oh yeah, I
it's-
know.
Oh, we all do.
I know. Oh, for sure. No,
But-
I think you're spot on. Like we were just talking before you came on about how Robin Lod has performed admirably at the 9 spot, but that's not his real spot. And it sucks that we are kind of forced in this position because Agudelo was kind of in and out, a little bit injured, and Nico Hansen was injured, and we don't have, Abila fully Abila, I want him to say it right, fully match fit. So it's like we're forced into this position where really only Ray and Finley were playing in their true positions, and Finley kind of had a rough game, So it's a rough situation where once we start getting pieces in their correct positions, I think tonight is not an indicator of how our season's going to go. If I'm going to be a little bit optimistic.
Oh, of course not. It's the first match of the season. Everyone's a little rusty. We look at San Jose. Nobody expected Houston to beat San Jose.
I did.
The Dynamo
for sure.
The Dynamo finished last in the West last year.
Yeah, I know, but San Jose just bleeds goals. That's their trait. They love that.
I get that, but
in that game, and I didn't win. I pushed, but I didn't win. I was mad.
It happens, Jeremy. It happens. But regardless, it's the first game of the season. I look at this and I say, okay, this does not mean Minnesota United's a bad team. It does not mean that they are not going to make the playoffs. It does not mean that they're worse than Seattle or anything. It literally means that, they're down a starting center back. They didn't have a natural number 9. They didn't have a natural left wing. It's a new midfield partnership between Will Trapp and Jan Grey Goose. Ethan Finley had an off night. It's just, it's the first game of the season. You just gotta let it roll by. Obviously, there's stuff to work on. There's film to watch. There's things to correct. But you return home. You make your homestead at Allianz Field next week, and you start really saying, okay, we got fans. This is our home. We have to protect it. We can't let anybody come into our fortress and boss us around. Lumen Field is an incredibly difficult place to win in. Let's be honest. It is a force. And without fans, the Loons did pretty decent last December. Let's be honest. There were fans there tonight, and they were loud. They were rowdy, and even though they were socially distanced, you could still hear them on the broadcast. It's not an easy place to win. It's just like going to Portland. There's places around this league that are incredibly difficult to win in, and Seattle's an MLS Cup, regular. Let's be honest. It's a bad loss, 4-0. Let's be honest, it's bad, but it's really not bad in the long run. It's your first game of the season. You return home next weekend. Take what you can from tonight and move on. It's in the past. You cannot let this hang over you because you're down 3 starting players. Your brand new number 9 only got 25-ish minutes in tonight. We're good. We're fine.
So, Jake, before you hopped on, we were just talking about the subs that Heath had made, and Jeremy and I kind of weighed in already. What did you think about the subs and the timing of the subs, and just like the selection of them?
Oh, it's a regular from Heath. He doesn't ever make subs till the 65th, 70th minute, and he reiterates in every press conference. It's his stance is that he doesn't understand the Americans' fascination with substitutions. If things are going well on the pitch, then why change it? The thing is tonight, a lot of things were not going well. But what are you going to do? You've already got your best midfield sub on the pitch in Hassani Dotson. Okay, are you going to take out Jan Grey Goose and Will Trapp in the 60th minute and bring on Ozzy Alonso? Probably not. Ozzy, you brought him on in the 80th minute, and that's warranted. So let's move up to the attackers. You've got a rookie in Justin McMaster, never had a pro minute. You've got Juancho Abila, and he never has a pro minute in MLS. He's, raw to the team. There's maybe a little chemistry with Ray, but that's about it. Okay.
Also coming off of a groin surgery too.
Yes, coming off groin surgery. You don't have any natural wingers. Patrick Weah didn't make the 18, but you can't expect that of an 18.
The 20 actually kind of interesting. There was 20.
Sorry.
Yeah. Weird, right? Kind of nuts.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. So thanks for the correction. No Patrick Weah, who plays at the 9, but he's a homegrown. He's raw. He's got the family name, but you got to give him time. I know that the camp thinks really highly of him, and I know that he will feature for the first team coming soon. He's thought of so highly right now. He's performing great in training and everything, but he's still a kid. Not everybody can come onto the scene and like Caden Clark and Cade Cowell did in 2020. Hopefully Patrick Weah does that sometimes this season. But there's also the rumor we're bringing in Adrian Hunu. There's a DP number 9. Then you've also got Wanchope Abila as a backup 9. You've got Juan Agudelo. You've got Justin McMaster. You've got Ethan Finley. You've got Robin Lude. And you've got Emmanuel Reynoso. There's a lot of first-team players ahead of you. So off the bench tonight, there weren't a lot of options. Heath played it the way he could. You're suffering 2-0. They scored a screamer. Nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
You followed up. Brent Coleman gets turned. They get a tap in. Okay, 2-0. Let's calm down. Let's figure out what we're doing. They didn't calm down. They didn't figure out what they're doing. That's when Heath made the changes. And I think I'm not against him for his subs tonight or the timing of them at all. I think what you had on the pitch was probably your best option at that time because they'd already played 60, 65 minutes and they'd figured out what Seattle's doing. Those players on the bench probably hadn't figured out. They just couldn't pull it together.
Let's get to some questions here. There's a few questions in the chat I want to get to. Kind of reiterating your point, Jacob. Christopher Alphaby says, feels basic, but Heath once again failed to make adjustments. If you look on the other side, though, I kind of want to talk about kind of on the other hand. Grant, I had already mentioned this earlier in the stream. Seems like Brian Schmelzer made huge adjustments leading into the second half to beat that high press that Minnesota was bringing in there in the first half, get in behind. Not only, the screamer goal from Joe Paulo sort of opened up everything for Seattle and did allow them to have those easy tap-ins later on. But there was some great adjustments made on Seattle's side. You cannot say the same, obviously, for Adrian Heath and Minnesota United.
I think to address what Chris said, like, I agree and I disagree, right? Like, I think Abila came on at the right time. I think that considering his fitness at this point in the year, you don't want to wear him out too early, right? Like, he's coming back from a groin surgery. You don't want to run him to the ground immediately in the first game of the season. So I agree with bringing him on at the 64th, 65th minute. I personally would have made earlier offensive substitutions, but that's the benefit of hindsight, right? Like, we're looking back at it going, oh, we should have done this, looking at it like, oh yeah, we're 3 down, so it sucks. It is what it is. But I think Abila came on at the right time. I think I personally wouldn't have put Ozzy on as my first sub, but we were down 3-0. What are we going to do at that point? They had such quick back-to-back goals successively that, like, how do you respond?
I think you kind of just look at it and you say, this game's. I think they kind of realized the game was gone, but you still have to show up and do your job. You have to finish it out, and you can't concede. You can't concede that fourth goal. That fourth goal, although it was a brilliant strike, it was a brilliant strike from Freddie Montero, who I'm going to be honest. So I don't know if Jeremy even knows this, but I grew up a Sounders fan as a kid. I grew up a Sounders fan. I've got Sounders memorabilia in my closet. I've got jerseys. I've got hoodies. I've got socks. I love the Sounders as a kid, and I loved Freddie Montero. I admired him, Steve Zakuani, Obafemi Martins, Marco Papa. I loved the Sounders, and to see him back in a Sounders kid it's pretty special. And I know it means a lot to the Seattle community, the Sounders family, even that roster. Having him back on there is pretty cool to see. I love that he's back in the league. He means a lot to a lot of people in Seattle and that fan base. He scored a brilliant goal tonight. I'm kind of happy that the game was lost. Like, if someone's going to score a fourth goal, let's have it be him. But I just don't think there were any adjustments you could have made after that first goal immediately that would have changed anything, because it was pretty evident that it was after the first goal. It was evident to me personally that Seattle was probably going to run riot at that point. It felt like it was coming. Ray had that little the yellow card incident in the first half, and that was a burst of energy. That was aggressiveness. That was passion. I didn't see the passion, the aggression, or the even the pursuing from Ray in the second half as much. And that's probably because those around him let him down.
Those around him let him down, and like what you said earlier, Jake, João Paulo like took him out of the game for a large portion of the second half.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not trying to talk down on Ray because I think Ray is genuinely going to be one of the best 10s in MLS. I think there is a high chance he ends with the most assists in MLS, pending some of our transactions that we need to bring in. But Ray brought some fire. He brought a lot of defensive presence, especially with that high press. But then whenever Brian Schmelzer made his adjustments, he disappeared. Like, we did not see him really at all in the second half. And that's not a knock on Ray. That's a credit to Brian for adjusting properly.
And, a big shout out to Atencio, 19-year-old on his debut. Have a debut, kid. He shut us out. He was lights out. I know nothing about this kid. I saw him in the starting 11. I was like, what on earth? Where did he come from? I saw him play, and I'm like, oh my goodness, they've got something special,
Seattle showed no Jordan Morris, no Ladero, no problem. Like this team has some dudes.
Goose left. Gustav Svensson's gone too. They lost Leerdam and Svensson in the offseason. They're both gone. Those are two starters. So you're down 4 starters from the team that faced Minnesota United last December, and you run riot 4-0. Well done, Brian Schmetzer.
But they kept their talisman, Will Bruin. I mean, he's
their talisman. Okay,
he's their guy right there.
I mean, I think everybody kind of likes Will Bruin.
Oh,
okay, where's my dad joke?
Where his dad joke is, Grant?
You can't put me on the spot. Rodrigo, I'll work it in a second. Give me like 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Oh, Jake, go ahead.
Hold up. If there was one person who could have made a difference tonight, I do this on every stream, Grant. I think Jeremy knows what's coming, but there's one person who could have made a difference tonight, but he wasn't even in the game day 20. He's on loan in Uruguay, our good friend, Tomas Chacon. Tomas, we miss you. Hopefully you come back to us someday.
Is that a dad joke or just fan service?
Oh,
I know that'll work.
Oh, just a joke.
That'll play. In the absence of dad jokes, the Chacon
Rodrigo, thumbs up or thumbs down on that one?
Chacon on a stick.
Oh man. Let's get there's actually a few.
Now, if we want a real dad joke, we'll just say the Sounders were a Bruin tonight, okay?
Ooh, there you go. I like that.
Ooh, there we go.
That was pretty good.
All right.
Yeah.
How about Kallman was Kallman was appalling.
Ooh, that was
I tried to go too hard.
But dad jokes are supposed to be bad, so I'll give that one to you.
I gaspered at the result.
Oh, there we go.
Ooh.
All right, guys, this is bad.
Behind. The loss has me depressed, and so I can't think on my feet when when I'm not feeling the best. Maybe if it was a 4-0 win, I'd have the dad jokes firing away, but nah, I just don't got them.
I was surprised they scored so many times with the Metin near post,
Ooh.
I don't know about that.
Not
one.
quite. It wasn't really.
That was.
Now we're reaching. Now we're reaching.
Yeah. All of my jokes are reaches. Let's be honest.
Brent Kallman's legs when he tried to get the ball from Will Bruin.
Oh, there you go. There it is. See, that's
all right. We're done.
My bad jokes are good because they set up actual good jokes.
There you go. You're the setup man. You're the hype man for dad jokes.
There we go.
Slam dunk.
Okay.
All right, Jeremy. Let's go back to focusing.
Yeah. Well, focusing. So it's time to go to our critically acclaimed segment, the debut of tweets of the match. I actually took some screenshots of some tweets from Minnesota United Twitter, so we're gonna fire them off here.
I swear, if one of them is my Kallman tweet, I'm gonna log off right now.
It's not you do have a
Thank God,
but it's not the Kallman tweet.
Thank God.
The first one.
Hey, I like that.
The SS Dane St. Clair clogging up the channel. Love it.
We appreciate Steve.
Number 2, Rodrigo, who's in the stream, makes an appearance on Tweets of the Match. The pass by Reynoso was so XXX. It was definitely not safe for work, that pass. I will agree.
Oh, that pass from Christian rolled on in like the first 15 minutes when Seattle did a brilliant clearance out of the back, the cross across the pitch, not even like across in the box, just a clearance across the pitch from Christian Roldan. Oh my God, that was gorgeous.
See, that's the thing. Before we get back into the tweets, like yes, we can harp on Minnesota United. You lose 4-0 and like it's not great, but Seattle played excellent.
Oh my God.
They played incredible.
It was a team effort. It was a team build-up the whole time, every single time, right? They didn't have a single moment where you were like, oh, that was a selfish shot, and it like they were lucky to go in. No. It was just a team build-up. They always would draw the goalie out, pass to the middle, boom, wide open guy, right? Every single time they had somebody crashing the far post or running those open spots. It was a really good offensive play or offensive game from Seattle. And you can't be super mad. Like, we should have played better and we could have played better if, I wouldn't have tweeted certain things and, Brett Coleman
would. Yeah, it's all your fault, Grant.
Imploded. Yeah, I'm going to take the responsibility. Yeah.
Hashtag blame Grant.
Yeah, hashtag blame Grant. But, Seattle played it really, really well. And their passes were just immaculate. Every single time they had such a good vision for what they wanted to do offensively to get their players into their best possible shots. And it was awesome for their fans.
I'm going to start a Twitter hashtag. Ryan Schmetzer to Tottenham. They need a proper coach.
Good. Let's get him out of MLS. Get him away from the
Sounders. Does Jose come to Seattle?
Hey, I'm sure there'd be the banter. Nah, dude, I know you're an Everton fan. You guys should have run riot over Tottenham today. They were awful.
I mean, I've never been so meh on Everton. Like, usually I'm like up in arms because they're terrible, or like I'm super excited and getting my hopes up because they're really good. But this has been the most underwhelming. Like, I almost like don't even care about Everton right now because there's not exciting in any way, shape, or form. At least when they were bad, they were like bad enough where I could like get like mad about it. But this team's just so like vanilla right now, and it's just like I have no feelings at all when I watch it.
Unless they sign Daryl DK, then they'll be exciting again. If they do end up signing Daryl DK,
start the transfer rumors now.
All right, so Schmetzer to Tottenham, DK to Everton, Mourinho to Sounders.
Can you imagine? Right. Can you imagine the backlash though? Like 8 games in, Mourinho starts throwing like Nuhu under the bus, and everyone just loves Nuhu.
So, he cannot touch Nuhu. Nuhu was a national treasure. But he's a national treasure.
But okay, as a Man U fan, right? Like, I remember the Mourinho days where Mourinho would throw every favorite player under the bus every single game. Right? It doesn't matter. Like, he'll throw Nuhu under the bus, and Seattle fans will be like, "Wait a second, it's time to go. Like, it's time to get out of here."
All right, Jeremy, tweets of the match. Let's go.
Yeah, bring us
back in. More. Yeah, we got a few more. All right. Grant, here you go. You down with DSC? Yeah, you know me. We should get that on a t-shirt.
I don't think that's the first time I've tweeted that, by the way. I just recycle my tweets.
Our good friend.
Yourself, basically. Oh,
I agree.
Good old David Naylor, good friend David Naylor. At Prof Cedar, I hate the stupid green team a lot now. Let's go ahead and make that official. After the last couple times out, I could definitely see where Minnesota United fans maybe don't have such a favorable viewpoint on their rivals out west.
They cemented their insufferability when they had that like tweet where it was like, we don't put the clinched asterisk into our name because making the playoffs is an expectation.
That was
like
cringe.
I was like, good Lord, like, oh, way to lose in the final, you arrogant cocks. Like, just get out of here, dude. It was bad. And just don't tweet that. Like, that's just, and I could tell that to myself.
It wasn't Minnesota nice.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't
all
at
right.
all.
Okay, Jeremy, I've got a stat for you real quick.
All right, give me a stat, and then we'll get back into the last tweet.
Yeah, in every Minnesota versus Seattle appearance since the LOONS joined MLS in 2017, in the final 29 minutes of each match, the LOONS have been outscored 12-2.
That's incredible.
That just makes me sad. Did you see that? Did you see that stat that we had the lead in 4 out of the 7 matches we played against them, and then we gave them up,
and we've been outscored 12-2 in the final 29 minutes of matches.
Brutal.
Incredible.
All right, the final tweet, Jeremy.
Grant, you're gonna love this. See,
Good old
now
Doyle.
we're all going to call Minnesota United bad again, and then they can say they're underrated, and everybody's counting them out. All part of Heath's master plan. That from Matt Doyle of the Extra Time podcast.
It's 3D chess, baby. It's 3D chess, right?
Yeah.
This is all a big plan by Heath to get Hunu in, get Hansen healthy, get Fragapane into the lineup, and then we are just gonna destroy Fragapane.
There you go.
Fragapane. I like it.
Yeah, there
like
it is.
You can't just say, I can't just say the name now. Like I have to do the hands.
There it is. Yep.
All right, Jeremy. What's next? I know we got
one. That was the last tweet, boys.
Oh, was the last tweet? Okay, my apologies.
Rodrigo, this is the last question I'm going to post on here because you're clogging up the chat here. How are we feeling about Dotson on the left? Grant and I spoke about this at length earlier. Obviously it's not ideal. I think he showed that while he is a Swiss Army knife, kind of throwing him into that spot was not the best idea. But on the other hand, they literally, I think, had nobody else that they could put there, right? With Hansen out.
Justin McMaster.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not an indictment on Dotson to say he played poorly. Like the same thing with Lude, right? Like we don't want Lude on the left. It's not saying Lude's a bad player. Put him on the right. Put him in the position to succeed. Here's my question. It's not his spot.
Would you rather have seen Hassani Dotson off the bench around the 50th minute mark as a midfield reimbursement and start Justin McMaster on the left wing, or would you have rather just kind of stayed content and had Dotson from the start?
See, I was actually talking to Grant about this. I think that's that kind of super sub, put him in 45, 50th minutes. Allow yourself to read the game and read the flow of the game and insert a guy like Dotson into where he can be most helpful, where he can be most impactful based off what's happening in the game. That's where I think Hassani Dotson provides its most value. And so, yeah, Jacob, I would agree with you there. I think, I think if it's right wing instead of left wing, maybe you could make a proper argument for Dotson because he is sort of right side. I would say right side dominant, but that really is where you see him oftentimes. But the left wing was just very, very random.
What you could have done too is you could have put Lude at left wing and you could have started Agudelo up top. Agudelo is not a proven goal scorer of late. He's had a really bad, crappy couple seasons in a row, a lot in a row. He never turned out to be the prodigy, the U.S. men's national team hoped he'd be when, he debuted at 16 or 17. But heck, you could bring on Juan Chope at the 50th minute mark for Agudelo. You can bring on Dotson at the 50th minute mark for a midfielder of your choice, and you still got McMaster off the bench. You still got the likes of Ozzy Alonso. You still got some defensive reinforcements too. I think there were ways to plan better for tonight, but obviously we're not head coaches. None of us have that experience. We didn't watch the film, so I don't also want to say Heath did it wrong. I just think there were other ways to look at it, and that could have been more effective.
I think I think this is kind of what you're saying, Jake, right? And confirm or deny. But like a lot of it also has to do with the benefit of hindsight. Like we're looking back at it, knowing what already happened and saying, oh, this didn't work out. But if Robin Lude finishes his two really good chances on goal, because he had two really good shots, that's 2-4. And then maybe Hassani puts in one and Ray puts in one. Now it's 4-4. We got a tie game. You could say, oh, wow, that's a really good lineup, and our defense let us down.
Yep.
But that didn't happen. And so looking back at it now, we can go, oh, yeah, we don't like this. This is a bad lineup. But hopefully, in the next week, we got 7 days. Hopefully somebody, and fingers crossed it's Dabasi, gets healthy, right? I don't know what's up with his left thigh necessarily, but that makes a huge difference for us. And we're playing Real Salt Lake, right?
Yes, Real Salt Lake next Saturday. Pushing midnight Central Standard Time here. 6 of you are still holding strong with us. I really do appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. It helps us out. If you want to be notified whenever 10K Pitches drops a new video, make sure you tap that bell for notifications. We appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you could as well. Final thoughts, guys, as we kind of come off this this opening night, kind of Is this one of those games where you just sort of throw away the tape and just sort of move on, burn it, send
100%.
it to the bottom of the Mississippi, move on? Or how are we feeling? We said this is not an indictment on this team, and we definitely don't expect this team to continue to play like this season. But looking ahead to next Saturday now, Real Salt Lake, what is this team? Is it just get healthy at this point, or what else can Adrian Heath and co do to sort of put themselves in a better position when they return to Iron?
I'm going to throw a link up to Jake really quick. Jake, what does Ted Lasso say?
Believe. You got to believe.
I thought you were going to say be a goldfish.
Oh, be a goldfish.
Be a goldfish.
That's in my Twitter bio.
Hey, Jake, what does Ted Lasso say?
Be a goldfish.
There you go. Okay. Drop it. Let it go. Forget it. This game sucked. There are things that we can take away from it, but there's not many, right? Don't start Brent Kallman. Let's move on. Let's get Dabasi healthy, or start Callum Montgomery. I don't care anybody but Kallman.
Callum's an option.
At least he's athletic. But that's my thought.
Callum appeared with the Canada U23s just not a few weeks ago too, and he started a couple matches.
Yeah. I would like it. I wouldn't mind it. I think we are at the point where we are 100% confident that Brent Kallman is the absolute. If you're in an airplane, he's not the emergency parachute. He's the emergency parachute you give to the guy you don't like that much. It's the emergency parachute that's been around since 1995. Don't put that on somebody you love, right? So don't start Brent Kallman ever. Please don't ever start Brent Kallman ever again. Let's try the young guys, if anything, because they cannot possibly be worse than the depths we saw tonight. That's my thoughts.
Like Jeremy said, you can figure it and move on. But before we close, Jeremy, I do want to point out, I did ask a lot of questions about this in the presser with Heath and Trapp. Trapp was the only player made available. Was the Black Armband Initiative that John Strong spoke about pregame on FS1. You both are familiar with what I'm talking about, correct?
Yes.
To the viewers in the stream, those of you listening, I'll give you a little more information on that. It was the players approached the team about it, and they approached the community relations advisor, Corey, with Minnesota United, and she helped them kind of orchestrate this with Seattle and with Minnesota. At this moment, it's not a league-wide initiative. It's between the two teams. It'd be really cool if we saw other teams adapt it. But, Adrian Heath elaborated on the fact that what's happened the past few weeks in Minneapolis is unacceptable, and he thought it'd get better. He thought after last year things would start to turn, and they didn't. And he's been really upset by it. Will Trapp said the same thing, and Trapp elaborated and saying, in our position as players, we use our platforms. We have the chance to speak. We have the chance to say things. We have the chance to make change. And the biggest way to do change is while we're playing. He thinks. And while they were playing, they had those armbands on. You saw Strong spoke about them. The team tweeted multiple times about them. And I think that's my biggest takeaway from today is that it's just a game. There's so much more going on in the real world, and we have a community around us and a team that a lot of these people support, a team that I cover. That's my job right now. It's what I want to do in my life, and I have the chance to work with them who are advocating for social justice in times like this, and it's really inspiring. I'm proud to be associated with them, and that's my biggest takeaway from today, I think.
And to echo that, really, really cool to see the Sounders jump in and join in really, enthusiastically. The broadcast, I'm assuming, Jake, you heard that too, but if you were watching the broadcast, they mentioned just how excited the Sounders were to join in with us on this statement. And just really cool because you're 100% correct. This is a soccer game. It's just a game. It's entertainment. And there's so much bigger things in the world. So it's cool to see that, they continue to make statements about the fact that, this kind of treatment is just unacceptable.
You have a platform, use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially now when you need that platform utilized, more than ever. It's good to see that not only Minnesota United coming up with this and putting this at the forefront, but like you said, Grant, Seattle sort of not wasting a single second and jumping on board and wanting to jump on board right away and sort of do that alongside Minnesota. So, bigger things in sports happening. We just spent an hour plus talking about a soccer game, but obviously bigger things happening, bigger changes that need to be made in our society. And hopefully, we can continue to take small steps towards those changes happening. Jacob Schneider. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say I'd expect something to be done next weekend too at the home game. Just keep your eyes peeled for that. On top of that, Jeremy, this coming week, the hope is that I will have an exclusive with Patrick Weah sometime this upcoming week. You guys can check that out at Zone Coverage. I do also work for MLSsoccer.com, but at this moment in time, we're still unaware of our status due to some unforeseen circumstances with the league right now, COVID-19 pandemic, freelancing, so on and so forth. But catch my work right now, zonecoverage.com, with Jeremy, who is also dabbling with zonecoverage.com. And 10K Pitches is a great podcast too. So make sure you guys listen to that.
Yeah, I hear it's pretty good. I hear the people like it. So speaking of great podcasts, Grant, I assume you and Alex are going to be doing an episode of the Dummy Run this week where you kind of break down the action that we saw tonight.
I would, except I'm probably going to hide in a deep, deep hole after that Brent Coleman tweet. I still have not recovered from that. It's going to take me a while. So Alex might be doing a solo Dummy Run podcast. Look out for that. I think I've forgone just any soccer commentary I have for I don't know, it's got to be at least 72 hours. So we'll see. Alex isn't even returning my texts at this point. He's just so ashamed of me.
He's ghosting you. He's
ghosting me hard. Yeah, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him. We'll see what happens, right? I'd block myself if I could. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But super cool to the listeners out there. 10K Pitches and Zone Coverage, fantastic listens. So I guess Zone Coverage is more of a read nowadays, which as a former lit major, I can respect that. So.
One last thing, Jeremy, I just want to say, go Chelsea, up the Blues. Man City's going down in the morning, baby.
Man City go down. That's good. We like that.
FA Cup semifinal, baby. 11:30 ESPN Plus. Let's go. Let's go, Chelsea. Right, come on.
Get some sleep so that way you can be well rested for that one, all right?
Oh, I won't. It's 12:02 and I got to write a column still, Jeremy. We're good.
Have fun with that.
I'm probably gonna watch an episode of Game of Thrones
Tuesday,
too.
So I have a ways away before I have to do that. I do have to edit this and get this up on the podcast feed though. So that's what I'll be doing for the next probably.
Sounds good.
All right,
gentlemen. This was fun.
Grant from the Dummy Run podcast, Jacob Schneider, zonecoverage.com. Thank you all for watching, listening, tuning in. Hopefully, when we come at you next Saturday, we are going to have a much better Minnesota United performance to talk about. But until then, I'm Jeremy Rushing. Thanks again to Grant and Jacob, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.